I'm American.
I left my country because I wanted a different experience of living overseas. I had planned to be an international teacher, and so the time when I left was just part of the plan.
I left the United States to experience new countries, new cultures.
Eu queria entrar no ensino superior e meu pai já não tinha mais condições para me ajudar a estudar no ensino superior e optei e o próprio meu pai me deu o conselho de arranjar um emprego.
I visited Africa when I was 25 years old, and I could not get it out of my blood. And so ever since then I've kind of been trying to get back to Africa. And the AISM school was definitely a huge factor in why I chose Maputo in Mozambique, because this school has a very good reputation. It's an IB school, and those were qualities I was definitely looking for amongst other things. So the school definitely brought me here. Mozambique is interesting, it's well located, and so those were all factors that I took into consideration.
I came to Maputo to teach here.
Because I'd only visited South Africa, I only had that frame of reference to work from. I knew that Mozambique wasn't perhaps not as accessible and industrialized maybe as South Africa. South Africa's a little bit more organized politically and whatnot. I didn't quite expect, mud huts and that some people think Africa is. And I also didn't necessarily expect quite the metropolis that it is, so it's been a bit of a surprise that it's been more in the middle of both of those things for me.
I didn't know too much. I knew it was a coastal city, so I was excited to be near the ocean. I knew that it would be quite expensive, and I knew a bit about the colonial past, so I was excited to see the architecture.
Antes de vir, a impressão que sendo na capital, queria conhecer sendo na capital de Moçambique, tinha o desejo de conhecer.
Well, it's very interesting because when people ask me about the cost of living here, for example, the cost of living being one of them, people say, oh, it's so expensive to live in Maputo. Well, relative to Africa, yes, Mozambique is very expensive if you look at South Africa compared to here or other African countries. However, it's very much on par with what I would spend in Canada, perhaps a little bit more expensive for things like eating out or clothes or whatever, but on the whole that's pretty similar. In terms of accessibility of products and that kind of thing, it's very different. Those things are not available. I can't just pop out and get some clothes and find that within my budget necessarily here, whereas I can more easier in Canada, definitely, and in South Africa. So those kinds of things are different. My standard of living in terms of being able to manage my life on my salary and travel and all of those things is actually quite good. I'm able to travel a lot more, I think, than I would be if I were living at home in Canada, and certainly there are more places to go and it's more readily available here.
I moved here from Saigon, Vietnam, so that's a very big, busy, crazy city. This is much more expensive than Saigon. Saigon is quite inexpensive. There's more things available in terms of shopping in Saigon, I would say, than here. We didn't need to go to South Africa, for example, to get things we might need. The housing here is bigger, for sure, much bigger, but it's also much more expensive.
Sim, há muita diferença. A maneira de dizer que parece aqui ter mais dinheiro, mais condições, lá parece ser um pouco sofrido. Ser um pouco sofrido, mas pronto. Há pessoas que estão bem também, mas as pessoas também não estão bem. E lá também a cidade parece ser menor, a cidade aqui é grande. É isso.
We have concluded that our hypothesis is correct in relation to the information we got in the 3 interviews we were able to gather. The 2 teachers we interviewed, one from high school and one from middle school, did in fact migrate to Mozambique voluntarily, and their reasons were mostly for the teaching opportunity here at AISM, and because of Mozambique being a different culture to where they came from, it was a new life experience. And the last interview we did, the guard that came from Nampula, his reason for migration was not voluntary though. He did not have as great a job opportunity in Nampula as he did here, and the living conditions were poor over there, so it was better for him to move here so he could be able to support his family in the way that his father supported him during his middle school years.